As the clock ticked and the office grew eerily quiet, Samantha was all alone. The cursor on her computer screen mocked her with its blinking, reminding her of the unfinished project that her boss had assigned her. But then,
Samantha sat at her desk, staring at the blinking cursor on her computer screen. She had been working late, trying to finish a project for her boss. She was the only one left in the office, and the silence was deafening. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. She looked down at the screen and saw a message from an unknown number. It read, "Hello Samantha. I've been watching you." Samantha felt a shiver run down her spine. She didn't recognize the number, and the message was creepy. She quickly typed a response, "Who are you? What do you want?" A few seconds later, another message appeared. "I just want to get to know you better." Samantha's heart raced. She felt like she was being watched. She turned around and looked out the window, but there was no one there. She typed another message, "Please stop. This isn't funny." But the messages kept coming. They were getting more and more aggressive. "I'm coming for you," one message read. "You can't hide from me," another said. Samantha was starting to panic. She didn't know who this person was, but they seemed to know a lot about her. She decided to call the police, but as she reached for her phone, she heard a sound behind her. She turned around and saw a shadowy figure standing in the doorway. She screamed and ran for the door, but the figure was too fast. It grabbed her by the hair and pulled her back into the room. Samantha struggled, but the figure was too strong. It pinned her to the ground and pulled out a knife. She tried to scream, but the figure covered her mouth. As the knife descended, Samantha's mind raced. Was this really happening? Was she going to die here, alone in her office? She closed her eyes and braced herself for the impact. But then, everything went black. When Samantha woke up, she was in a hospital bed. She tried to sit up, but a nurse gently pushed her back down. "Don't move too quickly," she said. "You were in an accident." Samantha's head throbbed, and she felt groggy. She couldn't remember what had happened, but she knew something was wrong. The nurse handed her a glass of water. "Here," she said. "Drink this. It'll help you feel better." Samantha took a sip and then asked, "What happened to me?" The nurse hesitated for a moment, then said, "You were attacked in your office. The police found you unconscious on the floor." Samantha's heart raced. The messages, the figure in the doorway, the knife. It wasn't just a nightmare. It had actually happened. "Do you know who did this?" she asked. The nurse shook her head. "No, I'm sorry. The police are still investigating." Samantha felt helpless and afraid. She didn't know who her attacker was or what they wanted. She didn't even know if they were still out there, watching her. She tried to stay calm and collected, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw the figure in the doorway. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, even in the safety of her hospital room. One night, as she was drifting off to sleep, she heard a sound outside her door. She opened her eyes and saw a shadowy figure standing in the hallway. It was the same figure that had attacked her in her office. She tried to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. The figure stepped closer, its face still shrouded in darkness. Samantha tried to sit up, but she was too weak. She could only watch as the figure entered her room. It approached her bed and leaned in close. Samantha could feel its breath on her face, and she could smell the stench of decay. "Hello, Samantha," the figure whispered. "Did you miss me?" Samantha tried to pull away, but the figure held her down. It reached out and touched her forehead, and Samantha felt a surge of pain shoot through her head. Memories flooded her mind. She saw the figure's face, twisted and distorted, as it attacked her in her office. She saw the messages on her phone, each one more sinister than the last. She saw the figure watching her, always watching her, even in her hospital room. She tried to scream, but the figure covered her mouth. "Psh," it said. "Don't be afraid. I'm here to help you." Samantha didn't believe it. She knew this figure was her attacker, and it was here to finish what it started. She closed her eyes and braced herself for the worst. But then, she heard a sound outside her door. It was the police, come to investigate the disturbance. The figure turned and ran, disappearing into the darkness. The police entered the room and found Samantha, shaken but alive. They took her statement and promised to do everything they could to find her attacker. In the days that followed, Samantha tried to put the ordeal behind her. She went back to work, but she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. She kept her office door locked at all times and avoided staying late. But one night, as she was leaving the office, she heard a sound behind her. She turned around and saw the figure, standing in the shadows. Samantha's heart raced. She knew she couldn't outrun it, and she knew she couldn't fight it. But then, she had an idea. She turned and ran back into the office. She quickly locked the door and hid behind her desk. She heard the figure approach, its footsteps slow and deliberate. As it entered the room, Samantha leaped out from behind her desk and sprayed it with a can of pepper spray. The figure stumbled back, its face contorted in pain. Samantha took the opportunity to run for the door. She didn't look back, but she could hear the figure behind her, screaming in rage. She made it to the exit and ran into the street, where she was met by a group of police officers. They took her into custody and searched the office, but they found no trace of the figure. Samantha never went back to that office again. She quit her job and moved to a new city, hoping to put the experience behind her. But she could never forget the figure's face, twisted and contorted in rage. She knew it was still out there, watching her, waiting for the right moment to strike again. And she knew that she would never truly be safe, not as long as it was still out there, lurking in the shadows.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did creating it. If you found it valuable or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on any future uploads. Your support means the world to me, and it motivates me to keep producing more high-quality content for you. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.